Okay, so let us start with the guide for 181 to 190. There will be some changes with the spires, like the core spires guide in this one, starting with like 183 or 184, right? I'll explain it by then. But yeah, as a reminder, I have made videos all the way from 140th floor up to currently 190. I am hopefully gonna complete up to 200 soon. All of the links for all of the stages are in the pinned comment in case you are wondering where to find them, right? And yeah, let's begin with 181. Okay, so for this one, the team I used is Juno, Huaki, and Ophelia, along with my Fire Cleave, right? And the team is built full fire on purpose. With this one, what I did was to try to instantly nuke as many archers as I could, right? Because in this one, I will say this, Juno is amazing in here because Croa will keep buffing those attack speeds up, so those precisions, and you will be able to cycle a lot of mana, right? If possible, try to have some sort of a fire element tank in there so that the wind archers do not completely delete you, because they can block beneficial effect, they can add undevirables, they can add those defense break, right? And if you are fire element, you will be able to sustain it and at least resist a little bit more of those, right? And yeah, once you start spamming Juno, honestly, there's really nothing that can stop you. I feel like Juno and Ophelia are pretty much core units in there. The third one is up to you. If you are a Cleave, of course, you will want to be quite tanky, right? If you're a backline summoner, you shouldn't worry too much because as long as you have a front line, the archers should target the front line. But yeah, Juno and Ophelia is something I really recommend for this stage, and just keep stripping with Juno so they don't have those attack speed buffs, and they will do much less damage to you. Okay, and for 182, this one will be a little bit difficult if you're, for example, not a Cleave user, because the goal with this one for me was to essentially lower the Beast Rider's damage so much that you would simply be able to out-sustain it with 3 healers, right? I found that Celia was actually an amazing unit in here because, as you can see, if you manage to sleep some of the units, right, you will be mitigating a lot of damage from your team, right? And that's what I found worked really well. And since you do need a heal block in this due to the light Inogami, trust me, Celia, super amazing pick. Of course, if a lot of your units do a lot of AoE attacks, for example, even Cleave's basic attacks are AoE, so I will wake up all of the units quite often, right? But if you're like a single target summoner, something like a Solera, it will be even easier for you, yeah? But yeah, basically in this one, the main goal is to kill the light Inogami as soon as possible, because not only does he heal, right, like you can prevent healing with heal block, that's not an issue. He also applies a lot of attack speed ups, and the more attack speeds up, the more, first of all, damage all of the Beast Riders will do. They will also get more attack speed, they'll get more precision, they will be able to essentially increase the threat to your team much more, yeah. And for the team, really, it's nothing special, just bring a lot of supports. I really recommend bringing a light Heart Magician, but apart from those, as long as you are able to weaken the damage on the team, as long as you are able to out-sustain them, you should be just fine. I will say maybe AV is a very good pick here as well, because she will be able to give you defense break, she will be able to heal, and she will be able to weaken attack and put up attack, not attack, what's it called, the crit rate down stuff, right? Like if you're not a Water Cleave, it may be a little bit difficult to weaken those opponents, but there's definitely some units that can weaken attack speed, right? All of these will contribute a lot, and once you kill the Inogami, it's really just about bursting those Beast Riders. So if you're having trouble with the fire one especially, you may want to bring some sort of a stripper into the team, right? Because that one will actually be able to keep up immunity permanently pretty much with just her skills alone. But yeah, as long as you kill the Inogami, you will be able to out-sustain it after that very easily. If you're having trouble with sustain, try to use Celia's second skill, sleep a few of the Beast Riders and switch to a different unit. You can run away a bit, right? Yeah, for the last Beast Rider, I just use a Perna, since it is a boss creature and it will essentially strip the immunity super easily. Keep in mind, Perna's second skill does have an immunity strip, And yeah, it was a close one. I only had like 10 seconds left, but it's definitely very doable. Okay, and 183. So this is the level where I fully switched to Orbia when it comes to Spires, right? And what I also did is I no longer had any power bonus. So in most cases, do not worry, I am not overpowering the enemies by having the bonus. Instead, I'm just trying to use the correct teams, right? But for this one, the general idea is in this team, there are only a few strips in here. The main one will be Oberon's basic ability, right? And since he does not have too great of an attack speed here, as long as you have permanent immunity, you shouldn't worry too much about it. At most, one of your units will be stripped a bit and maybe you'll get a bomb here or there. But yeah, that usually, first of all, will not kill you, and second of all, will be very RNG, so you can just restart the run and in the other aim most likely will not land, yeah? But the main idea here is as soon as you enter, and by the way, sorry for the bad quality, I actually completed this one on my phone, and yeah, that's where we'll see some goofy movement happening, right? But what you want to do is buff up immunity right away so they don't land any bombs or any other debuffs on you, and fully focus on the Water Joker. And with the Water Joker, you want to use Ardella preferably, because she will be able to block beneficial effects so they don't get any invincibilities, shields or anything like that, right? And she will also be able to put up anti-revive, which will prevent not only the Joker's passive, but also him getting revived by the Dark Undyne. After this, what I did was switched out both Ardella and Wusa for Masha and Ophelia, and the reason you do that is once the bomber is gone, the immunity is not really needed, since there isn't any sort of like super dangerous threats in there. It's really just 3 supports and Oberon, right? And Oberon is not gonna do massive damage whether you have the immunity or not, right? And the reason you want Masha is she has a block beneficial effect, and with that block beneficial effect, ideally you want to focus on the Dark Undyne, right? Because the Dark Undyne is the only reviver in the stage. However, her revive only works if one of her teammates is dead, right? Or she puts up, does she even have Soul Protector? I can't really remember, right? But if you have that block beneficial effect and you kill her first, there isn't a single way that Dark Undyne will be able to revive herself, right? So once the Joker is dead, simply focus on the Dark Undyne, kill her as fast as possible, and once she's dead, with the help of Masha, they will not be able to do much in here, right? What I did here is, like, I tried to do it at least, is focus all of them somewhat equally, right? Like, I'm making sure that everyone is heal block so that I could save some time, because here's the deal, if you don't land heal block on all of them, right, they are pretty much fully support team, so they will keep healing a bit, right? And ideally you wanna apply heal block to everyone so that you could kill them within the time limit. The main issue here is if you don't target everyone, time limit will be super dangerous for you, right? So try to kill them somewhat equally, keeping up the beneficial block from the Masha as well as the heal block from your summoner or any other unit that you have. And once the reviver is dead, you will be able to kill them with any other unit pretty easily. Masha's ultimate does a lot of damage, so I do highly recommend using that if you do use her. In the end, if you use any other beneficial effect blocker, that's up to you. There's also units like Nadinha who will work just well, right? Let's say on something like a tanky build. I didn't want to use Nadinha since she is a limited unit and not everyone has her, right? But yeah, that's how I dealt with this one. Focus on the Joker. Once he's dead, get some sort of a block beneficial effect debuffer, and just focus either all of them equally, but put priority on killing that Dark Undyne. Okay, and 184. So I will say this one, this was very easy to understand, or not easy, very hard to understand how to correctly do this for me, because usually I see a lot of buffs and I instantly try to go for the backline, right? But I figured that killing the Monkey Kings first was actually way easier. So First of all, I bring a Perna in order to focus on the Wind Monkey King and burst him down as soon as possible. And you will also notice that with this stage I have switched to Orbia, right? And I will stay as an Orbia for the remaining of the Spires, because I found that Cleave simply does not offer enough when it comes to this PvE content, right? He can boost the damage pretty well, but a lot of the damage you do will be dealt with dots moving from here, right? So I found that Orbia simply offered a little bit more, right? But the strategy for this stage, once you burst down the Wind Monkey King, I switched from Perna to Sharon, right? And the reason I did that is I've tried using Perna on the Fire Monkey King, but he was simply healing a lot. He has a passive, was it a passive? It's one of the skills, I don't even remember, right? Where he heals a lot. And once you apply those undeads from Sharon, you will notice how much damage he'll get. Let me just rewind you until, look at this. The moment Sharon applies that undead, look how much nuke he takes instantly. From 99%, right? Look at this. Sharon applies, he's at 97, boom, 42. He instantly loses 50% of his HP just from a single heal, right? So trust me, use any, it doesn't have to be Sharon, you can be any unit that has undead, right? And once you burst the Monkey Kings down, I will focus on the Jack-o'-lanterns or the Mystic Witches, up to you, right? The reason I focused on Jack-o'-lanterns is because they do have healing, right? And the same Sharon or any other undead unit will be able to counter them pretty easily, right? So yeah, burst the Wind Monkey with Perna or any other unit that you have that can burst a unit down fast, and after that switch to Sharon and simply nuke them one by one, right? If you have a Dark Orbia or any other heal block unit, it will speed up the runs a lot, because all four of these are support types, meaning that they will all be ranged summoners or monsters, and they will all be clumped up together, right? Like they will not spread up, which means that you will be able to target them with AoE attacks very easily. That's what I did with Dark Orbia for the heal block, then I switched to Wind Orbia for damage, right? Wind Orbia, of course, since all of the opponents are water element, Wind Orbia will be able to get a lot of mana for the skill cycling. You will see that. As you know, once with an Orbia, once you crit, you have a chance to get some mana, and Wind obviously has the highest chance to crit, so I simply went for that, right, and bursted them down with Sharon. Okay, and 185. So if you are still using a melee summoner by now, this will be a stage where you don't want to do that anymore, right? Because the reason any melee summoner will suffer a lot is because of the Light Panda as well as the two Occult Girls in it, right? So the main strategy for this is I essentially try to burst down the Panda as soon as possible using Perna and Masha, right? Ophelia being the frontline tank as well as the main healer, right? And I didn't even bother bringing any like cooldown reducers, because with all of the skilled accelerations and all the other passives here, you'll simply have a very difficult time charging them. So I found that nuking the Panda was the easiest option, and once he is gone, the only real threat is those Occult Girls applying the mana cost up, right? Because they can apply stuff like skilled acceleration. That will not mean much as long as you are able to heal up with your Ophelia or any other tank or frontline unit, right? And always make sure to stay away from your main tank in here. And that's super important, because usually the Occult Girls will focus on the tank, and their second skill actually has multiple levels of mana cost increase. You will see me getting hit by it once, as you can see right here. I got hit by the skill once and I instantly got a level 3 mana up as well as skilled acceleration. Again, skilled acceleration as a summoner is not a super big issue, especially if it's like a Solera or Orbia, right? But yeah, if you do get hit by it, it can be a little bit difficult to sustain, especially if you're spamming something like the Fire Paladin. So leave your tank in the front line, right, and try to stay away from these Occult Girls so you don't get caught in the fire. But apart from that, this stage is definitely not a difficult one. As long as you're able to out-sustain and burst the Light Panda in the beginning with Perna, you should be just fine, right? They don't actually do too much damage in this stage. And for 186, I'll say, especially if you have something like a heal block or a defense break on your summoner, is one of the easier ones, right? So for this one, the main threats in order to increase damage are the Veromos, right? Because he will constantly heal and he will constantly remove various harmful effects from your team, right? So since he is not a boss creature, there's a very easy way to stop that, and that is by simply applying Oblivion, right? So you can use any other unit, doesn't have to be Thessalion, you can use something like Sharon or any other unit or even a summoner that has it, right? Because once he receives Oblivion, and especially if you also have something like a Root on your team, he will not be able to heal anything, he will not be able to remove pretty much anything either, since his passive is like the main harmful effect removal. And once the Ifrit is dead, you will be able to easily apply heal block to the rest of the enemies, right? And simply burst them down one by one, right? So once that guy is dead, as you can see, no one will be able to cleanse on their team. The Dark Sky Dancers, they do have a heal, they do have an attack buff, but as long as the heal block is there, and you can also try to use something like a block beneficial effect to prevent those attack ups as well, if you see that you are struggling with damage a lot. Personally, I thought that the Lucian will be doing more damage, but he wasn't really. And as long as you don't have any CC effects on you, he will not be doing damage at all. So if you do wanna try and dodge those abilities, try to bring immunity, try to bring cleanse, right? Just make sure that you do not have CC effects so you don't take that ignore defense damage. And really the only units that do have CC on this stage is either the Lucian himself with his first skill, or the Veromos who can stun you a lot, right? So since Veromos is taken care of, again, it really shouldn't be too difficult to deal with this. Heal block, Oblivion, that's pretty much it. And the almighty 187. I will say this, probably the hardest stage from this video at least, talking about 181 to 190 rotation, right? But this is the team I used. Again, Sharon is extremely important here because you will be able to just apply that undead, and hopefully maybe you even have a heal block in case the undead fails. Once you stack those debuffs, once you apply the undead, you will be able to chip them one by one, right? And the team I used is, I alternated between Dark and Light Orbias, right? So what I did is, when it comes to Light Orbia, I switch to Light, I apply skill 2 block beneficial effect, strip, and then switch back to Dark so I could apply the heal block with the third skill, right? Not just a heal block, but the poison as well, because the Light skill 3 is not that great, right? So that's what I will be doing when it comes to my summoner. For monsters, Sharon, Purian for the cycling, and Ophelia. And watch what I do with Ophelia right off the bat, right? Like, I walk to the side, and I put my Ophelia in the front line so that everyone would focus on her. Because there is a lot of CC, because there's a lot of bombs, you kinda want your tank to be off to the side and the rest of your team somewhere further away from it, so that you do not get hit by any of the main abilities and especially any of the AoE ones, right? And once your tank is happily staying in the front line, right, you will want to keep sustaining with him, and your goal is to burst the Light Joker as soon as possible, right? Because the Light Joker will be the main stripper in that team, and once the Light Joker is gone, the runs will be much safer, right? So yeah, that's exactly what I did. The other stripper in this team is the Water Paladin, but it is not as scary as the Light Joker I found, yeah. So basically, as you can see, main goal, he has level 10 undead, he has Oblivion, so his like cooldown cycling isn't working as well. And yeah, once you burst the Light Joker, what I focused on was the Water Paladin next, right? You will lose focus sometimes because the Paladin might provoke you, so all you have to rely on is the cleanse from Ophelia or any other frontline unit or cleanser that you have, right? But once the Joker is gone, I focused on the Paladin next because of the same reason pretty much. First of all, it will be the only other stripper in this round, and it will be very annoying when it keeps removing your buffs, right? Especially the defensive buffs, like the defense buff. And second of all, the provokes. The provokes can be very, very annoying, and it will start making your units behave like you wouldn't want them to, right? Because if they focus on the paladin, they might group up too much, they might get hit by a lot of those AoE abilities, and it can ruin your run quite a bit, right? But once those two are dead, the run is much safer, right? If you are able to sort of spread out your units again so that your frontline unit is staying alone and the rest of the units are not getting hit, it will be a little bit easier, but it's definitely not a requirement, because at this point there isn't enough threat where your tank wouldn't be able to, well, I say tank, but I mostly refer to Ophelia, right? Where your Ophelia wouldn't be able to out-sustain your whole team, right? There will be the occasional bomb, but usually those bombs will not kill Ophelia, and they will be able to be cleansed fast enough where they do not do any lethal damage to you, right? And yeah, after that, with the Sharon defense breaks, with the undeads, right, you will be able to chip away all of the enemies one by one. If you see that you're really struggling with damage, you can also try to switch out a Perna and finish off the Sierra with that, since it is a boss creature in this round and it will receive those triple hits, right? But if you're not struggling with damage too much, the regular team you have will be just enough. And now for 188, this is the team I used, so mostly it will be Wind Orbia, Tion, or you can be any other attack bar booster. I just chose Tion, right, because he will be a very decent frontline here. Wusa for the immunity, because actually in this stage there isn't a single stripper in the game, right, so as long as you have immunity you will be completely safe. I will say this, I didn't have Fran by then, but if you do have Fran, the allied Fairy Queen, I do highly recommend using her over the Wusa, because not only will she provide permanent immunity, but she will also give you attack buff, which will allow you to burst enemies even faster. I unfortunately didn't have it by then, so I wasn't able to use it. But yeah, in a lot of these stages where you need permanent immunity, Fran will be the better option than Wusa or any other immunity buffer, right? But yeah, the general strategy for this one is make sure to buff up immunity manually, because if you don't, your immunity buffer will not buff before hitting opponents, and if you do get hit by opponents even once, there's a good chance they will apply stuff like defense break, freezes, right, and it will be very difficult to cleanse afterwards. But yeah, apart from that, what you just need to do is focus on all 4 beetles, have a defense break if possible, have some dots, have a lot of damage, and most importantly have a heal block in your team. And as long as you have the heal block, all of those regions that they have will really do nothing. So the heal block in my team is the Wind Unicorn. The first skill from him applies defense break as well as the heal block, which allows me to do a lot of damage and allows them to stop all of the healing, right? I also found that Orbia's first skill, like the new Tornado first skill, is amazing for this. It will apply a lot of electric shocks. You can see a lot of opponents have like level 5, level 6, level 7 electric shocks. Electric shocks are the best dot in the game. Their damage is super high, and they also have a chance to do double damage, so those will completely burst it. And on top of that, that skill has 60% defense penetration, so even with all of the buffs, right, even without an attack buff, you will be doing massive damage with that. And once the beetles are gone, there is really no healing, so what you can do is do something like switch to a Perna, as long as you have the immunity. If you just need more damage, right, you can go for Perna. I think I might have even switched to Perna myself. I'll have to see, I don't quite remember, as it happened a few days ago already. But yeah, as you can see, once you deal with the beetles, there is no healing. I do still advise keeping permanent immunity up, since the freezes from that Sylph are extremely nasty, and do keep in mind that a lot of these Spires units, they do have their 4-star or 5-star artifacts maxed out as well, right? You can check whether they do in the like strategy info tab. You will see a little passive which shows up as a 4-star or 5-star artifact, and yeah, it looks like I did switch to Perna for here, because it will just be a little easier to nuke, right? I have 30 seconds left, but that is not an issue for Perna since all of the triple hits, right? But yeah, make sure to not let those harmful effects through. You saw me lose immunity for a bit, and that was a bit scary, yeah. But yeah, once you switch to Perna or any other massive damage dealer, they will be able to deal with this super easily, and you should be able to finish the stage. Alright, and for 189, this is the team that I have used: Pyrian for the cycling, Ophelia for the tanking and healing, and Ardella. So Ardella will be super important here because there will be a lot of revives in this stage. I think, yeah, all three of the supports are actually revivers as well, so you do need some kind of an anti-revive. Like, you can kill Iona with a Perna, but you won't be able to kill the other Undines, right? So you do want any other anti-revive unit that you have. Usually it's not, I think the Dark Solera is actually an anti-revive unit as well, but it will be difficult to get a kill with those, right? But yeah, for this one, you will simply just need to kill all of the revivers one by one. I will say this, I highly do not recommend focusing on the Rosario, the fire archer, first, because the reason you don't want to do that is once he gets his rage mode off, he will be able to cleanse all of the harmful effects, right? And once he cleanses that, all of your beneficial effect stuff, all of your anti-revive stuff will be gone, and with 3 supports there, especially with those low cooldowns, they will be able to heal him up, and you will simply waste a lot of time without much chances to kill him. Like, give it a shot, but first of all, keep in mind you are using a wind archer, which will have trouble landing debuffs in the first place, and second of all, he will keep cleansing every half a minute or something like that, which will make it super difficult to land them in the first place, right? So yeah, just kill the supports one by one. The one I did it was the Dark Undine first, then I focused on Iona, and then on the Water Undine. Looking back at it, I would probably recommend focusing on Iona first, because she simply has the strongest heal, and yeah, you will be able to chip away faster once she's gone. But overall, as long as you focus any of the Undines or the Iona first and leave Rosaria for last, you should be just fine, right? You will see me that while I'm killing there, I actually just started prepping another unit. I just left it on order, right? Once you have all of those killed pretty much, the fire archer is focusing on the Ophelia usually, so he will not be able to do any damage with that. And I built my Sharon for this, and I found that Sharon works a little bit better than the Wind Archer. First of all, because there's no longer any revive in there, so you don't really need her. The Archer himself doesn't really have any buffs, so you don't need the beneficial block as well. And with the Sharon, you will be able to apply stuff like Oblivion, which will completely shut down his Rage passive, right? So with that, you'll be able to nuke the main unit much faster. You can also use something like a Thessalian for the Oblivion, right? It doesn't have to be just the Archer. That's just what I thought of building at the moment, right? Because I didn't have anything prepped, so I just quickly ruined up the first unit I thought of, and yeah, that's it for this one. Okay, and to finish it off, Spires 190. So I use the same team as 189, right? Ardella, Pyrian, Ophelia. I start out with Fire Orbia, but I will switch to Dark. I will explain why I want the Fire Orbia first, right? But the general idea here is you do want to kill that Jäger as soon as possible, right? And to prevent that damage, you do want to apply a block beneficial effect. So unlike any other stage where I would just wait for units to use their skills and just cycle them with Pyrian, I do a little bit of a rush onto the Jäger. It will take a few times. I didn't manage to do it in the first time. But yeah, what you want to do is you want to target the Jäger. You want to have your Ardella Soul Linked or any other unit that gives block beneficial effects, right? It can be a summoner as well, up to you. I tried it with Light Orbia. For me, Light Orbia is just inconsistent. And I also needed a heal block from my Dark Orbia, so I just wouldn't be able to switch fast enough. But yeah, what you want to do is instantly dash into the front line and try to apply that block beneficial effect as soon as possible. Because here's the deal. Once the Jäger gets his counter attack, it will be super difficult to deal with that, right? Like, you will apply the beneficial effect block, but you will also need multiple strips. He'll keep countering you, and that's just gonna be a little bit more difficult compared to this way, right? And I found that, trust me, I tried the other way. The main reason or rather the main problem I ran into after that is an issue with time, right? Like, I would apply the block beneficial stuff, I would kill him, right? But with 3 healers and a lot of the other like slimy things here, I just won't have enough damage. Yeah, but once the Jäger is killed, what I did is switch to Juno and try to kill pioneers one by one, right? Because you can instantly strip that if you cycle, and once you strip, as long as Ardella follows up with a block beneficial effect, you will be able to just deal with them super easily. And don't worry too much if you fail this within the first few runs. Like, it took me a little bit of time to succeed with this as well, because if you're just simply spamming Purian's cycling abilities, right, there is chances where your Juno will either miss a strip, she will strip after the Ardella shoots her ability, and the pioneers will be able to buff up again, right? So if you do rely fully on Purian or any other skill cooldown booster, there will be a little bit of RNG involved, or you can do something like you see your Ardella skill coming up, so you can switch to Juno for a strip, or vice versa, you see Juno strip coming up, so you can switch to Ardella to make sure that you land that beneficial block, right? But yeah, once you kill those pioneers, the rest of the run will be pretty easy. All you have to do is burst the little slime units as well, right? You can switch for other units, since, let's keep it real, slimes first of all are not gonna kill you, right? As long as you have any sort of healing, and in most cases you might not even need that, right? And yeah, what I did was I switched to Juno. Not to Juno, I mean to Ophelia, and her role here was to group up all of the slimes into one place, and she also was there for a little bit of healing, as well as the burn reflection on them. And the main DPS I used was the Dark Lich, right? And what he did is he applied a defense break using his first skill, I believe, and with his second skill he's also able to group them up, like pull them together just like Ophelia would, as well as apply a lot of poisons, right? And at the very end you also saw me switch Ophelia for Wind Unicorn. That applies defense break, that applies heal block, and that applies a lot of damage as well. Doesn't matter what DPS units you use in the end, whatever does the most damage, right? Like, if I wasn't making this video, I would have used something like a Dark Monkey, right? But I want to keep it more free to play friendly. But yeah, by the way, Dark Lich is a very good option, since he is a mage, and mages have that weakness exploit artifact, which will increase their damage a lot. So if you're just wondering what would be a good free-to-play option for bursting them down, Dark Lich is a very, very good one. And yeah, that's about it. I am still working on other Spires levels all the way up to 200, so I'm not sure whether I will be able to complete it at all, or when I will be able to complete it. But yeah, once I got those, I will upload it on my channel, as well as leave it in the pinned comment as well. So if you do want to be updated on that, make sure to subscribe, and yeah, peace.